Tongham is a Surrey village across a narrow double divide from the easterly park and business estate of the town of Aldershot, northeast Hampshire. The village's buildings occupy most of the west of the civil parish, adjoining the A31 and the A331. The boundaries take in Poyle Park in the east and the replacement to Runfold's manor house in the west. Aldershot is centred 1.5 miles west, as Tongham commences immediately on the north half of the Hog's Back, the thinnest part of the North Downs. The largest independent brewery in Surrey takes its name from this eminence, as does the Hog's Back Hotel. Tongham was the home of Aldershot Stadium, which hosted primarily greyhound racing, stock car racing and speedway, and the village was mentioned in the futuristic dystopian novel Brave New World. History and economy. Archaeological evidence suggests the area of Tongham has been occupied since Neolithic times, particularly close to the Pilgrim's Way, which formerly covered in part the top of the Hog's Back, a ridge 60 to 50 meters above the surrounding area, but which is now the North Downs Way on the south side. Notable finds in the parish include two Neolithic arrowheads and Iron Age farmsteads, manor the farmstead, and what few peasants' buildings there were. In the feudal system gained early mentions as Tongham from the 13th century to the 16th century in the rent rolls of the successive bishops of Winchester. Henry-de la Poyle held court at Tongham Manor in 1360. He had inherited the land from his grandfather, Walter de la Poyle, who held it, rendering an annual small fee to the bishop. The manor descended from the emblazoned, but not noble, Gainsford and White families to holders in the Tichborne family. One of these proved to be less rewarded than Sir Benjamin Tichborne, 1st Baronet, for proclaiming the new Stuart dynasty in Winchester. Sir Walter Tichborne, this less wealthy branch of the family, sold it in 1725 to Richard Smith. In 1819 an exact namesake sold the manor, with Thomas and Jane Barrett also having an interest, to Stephen Boyce, whose stepson's family ending in M.J. Charles Stephen Baron and brother C.N.L. Fenwick Boyce Baron held the manor, and the manor remained, albeit gradually sold off, with the Baron until at least 1906. Poyle Park. The manor of Poyle Park, which decayed from a wealthy gentleman's architecturally impressive farmhouse into no more than a farm, was in the north of Seal, but now forms most of the east of Tongham. In the 14th century, Tongham, seemingly inclusive of this area, was assessed in the subsidy roll at £3 8s 5.5d. The Poyle family owned a synonymous manor in a parish of Guildford, held of the king, never the bishops. After the Gainsford and Vine families, the family of Sir Nicholas Woodroffe, Lord Mayor of London for 1579, held it until at least 1906, bypassing to female-line descendants the Chester family. In 1792, owner William Woodroffe, who was High Sheriff of Surrey for 1792, had his estate in bankruptcy due to the expense of that office, which he could not afford. Colonel Ross Donnelly Mangles, the chairman of the East India Company, was a tenant in the mid-19th century. Evolution from the Industrial Revolution onwards. From the population abstracts from 1811 until its evolution into a parish, the settlement was a rural one, large enough in size to be official classed as a statistically recordable hamlet. Tongham's now dismantled railway with a station here was important for transporting materials to build the new military camp of Aldershot from 1856 until 1870, and the row of shops developed from this line. Its church was completed in 1865, and Tongham was made into a separate parish the following year. The son of its first vicar, Archbishop of York Cyril Garbett, was born in Tongham in 1875. A leader in the liturgy and charity notable works of a large part of the Church of England. The military author and honorary remembrancer for the borough of Aldershot, and curator of the Aldershot Museum, Howard N. Cole, lived in the village. Tongham was mentioned in passing in Aldous Huxley's novel Brave New World. Hogsbackbury. The twin oast houses in the village have been converted to residential use. Tongham nonetheless is home to the largest independent brewer in Surrey, with 6 other main breweries in the county. The Hogsbackbury producing 3,800 barrels per year from its 18th-century large premises. The brewery uses Fuggles hops from the Hampton Park estate in Seal. Commuter local work statistics. As part of the Outer London commuter belt and well within the Aldershot urban area, the means of travel shows most people aged 16 to 74 either use a motor vehicle to work outside of the village or to commute within it. Amenities: Poyle Farm Cottage and the Hogsback Hotel. A 17th cottage sits below the former manor, largely intact in terms of uninterrupted farmland named Poyle Farm. The legacy Farnham Hogsback Hotel features white stone quoining and Dutch gables, giving its 20th-century structure a character reminiscent of the former medieval Herd Manor house on the site. Pubs, shopping parade and other major outlet. 2 pre-19th century large pubs are in Tongham, the White Hart on the main street and the Cricketers on a western avenue off this Oxenden Road. A diverse and relatively small shopping parade is in the village centre. The brewery operates an off-license stocking non-proprietorial ales as well as its own church. The 1865 church used by Anglicans was designed by Ewan Christian and is Grade II listed, and was erected by John Back, who owned Aldershot Park, a large public park with many leisure facilities accessible via track from the village, crossing the double divide of a river valley and dual carriageway. Former landmarks: Aldershot Stadium. Tongham was the home of Aldershot Stadium, which hosted greyhound racing, stock car racing and speedway. The stadium lasted from 1950 until it was demolished for construction of the A331 road at the end of 1992. Runfold medieval manor house. This building shares with other private plots a western spur of land close to Runfold's traditional centre. This included much of the land which the A31 east-west dual carriageway is on, and 4 listed buildings northwest of this close to Bad Shotley, one of which, Runfold House, was a large 18th-century house, however refaced completely in the 19th century. Sport and leisure. Tongham has a non-league football club, Tongham FC, who play at Poyle Road. According to the Guinness World Records 2003, Tongham also holds the world record for holding the most indisciplined football match ever against Hawley Youth Club on the 3rd of November 1969. The referee booked all 22 players, including one who went to hospital and one of the linesmen. The match, which was won by Tongham 2-0, was described by a participating player as a good hard game. Demography and housing. The average level of accommodation in the region composed of detached houses was 28%. The average that was apartments was 22.6%. The proportion of households in the civil parish who owned the home outright compares to the regional average of 35.1%. The proportion who owned the home with a loan compares to the regional average of 32.5%. The remaining percent is made up of rented dwellings. Nearest other settlements: